do they call you the Herbal Jedi anyway?
Well, it's been a number of years. I guess my whole life I've been working towards this stage of helping people connect deeper with the natural world, connecting myself deeper with it, being totally impassioned by the fractal mapping systems that underlay the metaphysical background of the universe. And through that, I've been doing nothing but putting my mission of connecting and deepening that expression of how we show up interspecies with my friends, colleagues, partner. A friend of mine one day coined me the name Herbal Jedi, and over the last little while it kind of started to make sense and started to roll into, this is the mission, this is the forward thinking of kind of lateral growth of let's try to bring this message deeper to people. That's pretty much what I do now, is just connect as deep as I can to the world around me and try to share that as the mission.
And there's a little bit of tree climbing and jumping through the forest.
There's a bit of ninjutsu and kind of moving in flow, but with the force around the curvature of the growth of the earth here.
Whoa, that was deep.
Using that metaphysical background of the world, right? To kind of deepen our expression, deepen our thinking, use our wide angle lenses, our fox walking, our third eye and third ear, to kind of connect in with the larger pattern of the message that's underneath it all. We actually have this ability to kind of alter our state internally, chemically, using our sensory perception to perceive in different ways. And this is kind of where that Jedi kind of energy, maybe I'm more like a herbal Padawan, a Jedi in training, but I think that's where we all are at, right? Is that like in training mode all the time, perpetual student, learning from those a little bit ahead of where we're at. Ever since I was a little kid, I had been connecting with plants and working in that world. My parents, I guess the first herb walk I did, my name is Yarrow, and my dad had me do a herb walk and talk about yarrow when I was 5 years old.
And now you've got kids of your own.
That's right. The pattern is emerging, that kind of old world style of family lineage taking on path as it kind of grows. My son Rowan has already done a couple of herbal videos, and he's out there connecting with plants all the time. He's eaten them all. He can name most of these, most of the seaweeds, a lot of the mushrooms. So definitely part of that path is training and working with the expressions that our children bring in. And what I love about the kids is that they see the world in such a different view, so much less biased. They're ready and willing to, try that out. If they don't like it, tastes like slime, my son will say, or whoa. But you know what? They have a new way of perceiving, and I think it's as important to learn from them as it is to learn from our ancestors, and it is to learn from the plants directly. So I lived in a teepee when I was younger, until I had to go to kindergarten. And then as my parents put me into school, it was kind of funny because first month of school, bring my parents into the teacher's office and like, your son, there's something wrong. He's peeing under the big kid's equipment, and my mom just laughed and was like, you know what? Wildling, literal wildling. So he doesn't even know that that's a problem. So grew up a little wild, came back into society, became a little more domesticated, crystallized in that sociological pattern of our modern age. But pretty soon saw that as a bubble. And, my mom working in a health food store, my father being a herbalist, this was continually, learning from that expression of trying to connect deeper with plants and connect deeper with the natural world. So as I came out of that, first thing I wanted to do was, spend my time at these kind of rainbow gatherings and these kind of community-orientated natural settings, and learn real quick that there's a whole nother way to organize people and our society than this way that we do now at current. Beyond the curvature of our sociological conditioning, to help look at how do we topple this kind of vertical growth and get more lateral in our connection to the planet, so we can be more sustainable, more collaborative, more connected. And I think of connected, I think of like kin-ected, and that's interspecies kin-ection. How do we develop that, build that as a group of people here on this planet? For all of us, the one thing we all want is to kind of feel better and connected and be on purpose in presence of like deepening that value within our experience in life and the value for those around us. So for me, the purpose being a lot more than herbalism. Herbalism might be the avenue in which I'd like to work with, but it's more to deepen that connection, to grow the awareness as a species and to collaborate with others that are growing that awareness. So we build that kind of international tribe of collective commons.
On YouTube, I think you've created your own little community.
It's just fun, really. It's part of the purpose. And I think a piece of why I like to do those videos is I really like to up-channel value to expression in the world. And we have a little company, Harmonic Arts. We do all kinds of herbs, superfoods, medicinal mushrooms, all that kind of stuff. And a big piece that's beautiful is I can glean off of my own knowledge and use some of the funding to create free, as we call, edutainment that gives informational value for people to get out and connect with their own wild experience. And so, to me, I'm fueled by that work. It feels like so nourishing.
Yeah.
And it's a nice way that I can actually take something else that is also fueling me, which is a financial work with a company, and put it back into a give and take relationship. So now I'm able to spend that energy on helping fuel other people to get that spark in their eye when they get out into the natural world and be like, oh, I know that one. Oh, yeah. My favorite thing actually with the YouTube videos is all the little kids that I've been getting to connect with. I was in Edmonton the other day and this mom came up to me and she's like, we love your videos. And she had her 2 little kids with her. She's like, these kids have seen all of them and like, they love it, and to me to see like the youth engaging with like, wow, there's something to all these plants. They're not just stuff like the modern world kind of presents to us. They're like actually allies and friends and community in that way. So that kind of kin-ection, that interspecies communication development, that's the juice. That's the good stuff. I think that we need to re-look at how we look at the world, and it's really important for people to push our boundaries and stretch our limits, and to stretch our own limits internally as well. I mean, obviously also even the way I look, like I start talking about this metaphysical side, this communication with these plants, this giving a hair to the plant so that the spirit will know who I am, things like this that definitely will push people's boundaries. At the same time, take it and overlap it with that piece of science to kind of really support that back, I think helps people build that relationship. But I honestly don't want anyone to ever think of my word as gospel. I want to put little brain hooks, little seeds, little planted ideas into their mind so that they can dig deeper and find their own truth. I know my truth and I feel it's ever evolving, and it's not a permanent, stagnant, static thing. It's this growing piece. So as we've done 50 videos, my truth has changed along that course. And if I go to the same herb we did a couple years ago, the lessons are always evolving and learning. I have a philosophy of dietary belief too, which is the flexitarian, and that is not to be an omnivore, not to be a vegetarian, not to be a carnivore, but to be a flexible devourer of information, knowledge, food, every kind of form of intake I can, and then decipher what really fits into my picture of the world. And if it doesn't, that's fine. That can be your truth. That can be your food. That can be your story. But I like to take it all in, and I think it's important to push our boundaries so that we can see how far we can really pick up different forms of communication and learn new skills, new thoughts. Our collective intelligence is so much deeper and so much more wisdom held in experiential knowledge that has been passed down over the lineage that I think we kind of miss that sometimes in the modern age. We take it for granted. For example, I happen to know that a lot of herbs come in bottles. That's where they came from. I happen to know that food comes in cans. Where's that original story that came to that place? How did ketchup get made? Let's look at the background of like fermented tomatoes from this overabundance and some way of actually getting the higher lycopene content so we get more antioxidants in the winter months when we consume that tomato paste, but we like it a little more of a fermented flavor, giving us good immune system. This is where ketchup came, right? So we look at this native history of how they used plants, how they connected with the natural world, and it teaches us so much more about the why we do things and maybe what we're missing in that whole equation. So definitely deep in that connection. I wouldn't say I prescribe to the whole being Paleolithic in nature of taking 10 steps backwards. I really honor where we're at now, and that we need to be where we're at and use our communication networks, use our laser beams to kind of project out into the world around us and accept the technology. But it's really the relationship we build with it, not the actual technology that's the problem. It's like, do we look for the newest, next best thing? Are we always craving more technology? Or are we just using it as another avenue to speak the language of our heart, you know? And so that's where I feel that not taking a step backwards, going back in the past, I don't need to live in a teepee. If I live in a teepee, it's because I want to enjoy that connection. But not because I need to step backwards. And I think that's where a lot of people are at too right now but how do we interface with this technology? So really, you know, Herbal Jedi is really more about may the forest be with you. This idea of connecting with the natural force in the forest, the energy, the pattern, the chi flow, the unblockage of stagnant energy in our bodies, in our minds, in our souls, and in the world around us. So I think a lot of us are becoming Herbal Jedis as we speak, and more of us are being pulled into this path. I happen to know, and this is something that my father taught me, the world, or the planet Earth, Mama Gaia, she is sprouting and growing herbalists everywhere. So if you find yourself pulled to connecting with plant medicine, it's because Mama Gaia is asking you to do that. So listen to that, listen to your heart. If this path follows the way you want to work in life, then go for it. There is no big profit, there is no fortune and fame, but there is a real sense of purpose that comes from learning how to deepen our relationship with this world we find ourselves in.